Sorry about this video. It was a video that got away from me and got too long. This is actually the portion of it which has to do with the subject most, and I made the other into my ArduPilot history. That will be a prerequisite for this and is a prerequisite for a lot of my videos and will be referred to a lot in the future. Again, I apologize. This gets off to a bad start, but I think it addresses the topic I wanted to address. Thank you guys so much. So, let's get to the topic specifically. The documentation here for ArduPlane, that particular firmware. To do one of these firmwares, you just kind of work your way down the list here. That's the way it's set up. Not much to it. So we're in first time setup here. It'll start you out. Every one of them starts out with this, no matter which firmware you choose. Talks about your ground station to start with because it's important. It's how you connect to the hardware to configure it. Even if you don't use a ground station in the field, you're going to use it on the bench. I guarantee you. You can call it your personal computer instead of a ground station if you want to. Then it goes through just some of the concepts here. Get you going. Autopilot system assembly, loading your firmwares and stuff, connecting that ground station to the thing, and then we come to this configuration tab. This is where you do your first actual construction and configuration. You work your way down this list in order. It's just a piece of cake. Well, it was for me in the 1.0 version days of ArduPilot, and the only thing I had to swallow on the new releases was just the new things that were added from release to release. So every 3 or 4, 6 months I had to learn 3 new functions. No big deal for me. Kind of didn't even seem like a learning curve. And believe me, there were lots of changes. So we're heading for the topic now, honest. So working down through this list in those days was, and still is, the way you do it. Now, as far as our specific topic, when you see this list right here, you're going to see as you work down this list, you come to the compass calibration section. It's always been there. I don't understand why with compass problems, with a properly calibrated, set up, wired, everything proper with a compass, there's a problem. Or these developers would have taken this step out of this long ago, or at least put a warning in here someplace. They do put sort of one. We'll get to that. So as far as this is talking about within an airplane, not within a quad or a vertical or something like that that hovers and can't develop a direction from calculations on points during a flight, that once you're 3 feet away a millisecond later, you can take those 2 points and figure out what direction you moved in. That's easy to do with a GPS, with motion. But this goes through all sorts of things. This speaks as if, and it tells you what this is going to do for you. We may get into this advanced setup we'll see here. But this talks about it's not necessary to recalibrate the compass when the vehicle is flown at a new location. Well, that's an airplane flown at a new location talking about using the compass. These people are talking about using the compass in an airplane during flight. And there's no disclaimers here. There's no nothing. This is what bothers me about all this to begin with. And it talks about other things etc., etc., etc. Uh, it says it can also get inclination from the compass at startup, and then soon again after takeoff. I'm not sure what that is or why you can't get that from a GPS, but we'll leave that one alone. Need a good 3D lock when you before you calibrate. And it talks again here, if it doesn't want to lock up for you, move outdoors to get a good GPS lock before doing compass calibration. Can't be done when the vehicle is armed. They go through here telling you this is how you set up the compass in Mission Planner, configuration, etc., etc. Not much to it. When you plug into the platform, most of this is going to be in there. You're just going to check it for accuracy and move on. You might change this checkbox, automatically learn offsets. You might disable or enable a compass, but this is an airplane. They're showing people doing this, and then this down here is where you calibrate it. You just click Start Calibrate right here. All this is discussed right here in these next two or three paragraphs. They then show you down here how to do those calibrations on a quadcopter instead of an airplane. Bless their little hearts. I didn't say the Ardu documentation was always great. They do talk about magnetic interference here, which is terrible with the compass. You got to be real careful about that. They actually have inside the Ardu pilot, and they talk about this one kind of like, yeah, if you have problems, do this with an airplane. I can tell you, if you don't do the compass motor compensation in a hexa, you're shot. There's so much magnetic interference in a quad or a hexa that doesn't exist on an airplane. It isn't even funny. In an airplane, the compass motor calibration is not optional. And here they kind of talk like it's optional. This is in the advanced compass setup. I told you we'd get to that. And again, quickly, what this talks about is it's a thing you do, and the Ardu pilot firmware for copter, rover, sub, boat, blimp, plane sees what happens with these magnetic fields and sets up a mask to lock them out in the future. You actually leave your props on sometimes for these. This says, disconnects your... I used to tie wrap mine down to a big piece of plywood in its proper configuration. They discuss here that you just take out your props off, flip them over, and rotate them 90 degrees around your platform, and what you have then is basically a quadcopter that would be pushing down on the surface when you run up the motors with the props on the bench. I didn't think that was correct, but because I figured it could still flip over. That wasn't sufficient for me. I took a 3-foot by 2-foot piece of plywood I've got around here someplace, drilled holes in it, ran tie wrap through those holes, put it around the arms of my quads and hexes, and ran them up for this, because you run it up quite substantially so that you produce those magnetic fields while running this compass motor calibration program, and it then builds a mesh for locking out those magnetic interferences. For the airplane, it kind of talks about this as being sort of optional, or something you come to after you have a problem. I would do this first. I don't know if that's how people can get into trouble. This automatic offset calibration again, all of this is inside. And here's how you can finally tune your compass by using telemetry data. This tells you about your compass errors. Anyway, this is all in their documentation. And it's just a lot of information. And it seems to me like if they're giving this to you, it seems like they feel like their compass is working in their Ardu plane firmware. See, it says right here, I don't agree with this at all, but it does say, most users will only need to perform the normal compass calibration. But details are also given on the less used compass motor, compass mod. Compass mod, compensation for interference from the power wires, ESCs, and motors. I guarantee you better do that on a quad or a hexa. Now, why? This is where, to me, when I was reading all this, they imply that, okay, if it doesn't work, the calibration doesn't work well for you, then do the compass motor compensation, because magnetic fields are interfering so badly you can't get it. Once those magnetic fields are masked out, then you can do the normal compass calibration. And because the noise floor has been lowered basically in the signal, you're going to see enough signal now to get a good compass calibration. They're talking about all that in the Ardu plane firmware. Now I can come out here and let's see, this is the advance. Is there any more tidbits? And see, some of this is a little bit mixing of their documentations and is a little bit confusing because quads and hexas toilet bowl. Airplanes don't really toilet bowl. They may do a form of that that's caused by the same miscalibrated, misaligned compass, but airplanes don't toilet bowl like a quad does. And I had toilet bowling until I fixed it on one quad. It wasn't bad, but it was there. There's a video someplace, whether it's open to the public or not. I showed toilet bowling and what I did to fix it with Ardu Copter. Accurately setting up the compass is critical. It's a primary source of heading information. That wasn't true when the GPSs were on these things. That's what the APM was best for. That's the first GPS. KK2 boards didn't have GPSs on them at first. Without an accurate heading, the vehicle will not move in the correct direction in autopilot modes. Well, I disagree with that, but see, I disagree with a lot. Auto is a mode both the copter, loiter is a mode that both the copter and an airplane have. Position hold isn't part of Ardu plane. Return to launch is part of both of them. And in my humble opinion, this right here is more from their copter documentation being copied to this plane documentation than anything that the developers intended for this documentation. People doing the documentation frequently aren't the one writing the code. Flyways are certainly part of both platforms. Let's see. No, not much. This line right here was kind of that, where on an airplane, do it if you have problems. Do the compass mod anyway. It's easy to do. The ArduPilot firmware does it for you. Compass ordering and priority. I'm just looking down here. Okay, right here. Note, compasses should always be enabled for the copter and rover firmware, but may be disabled for plane. But the Ardu plane developers do not recommend it if one is available. Well, when I put a GPS on my platforms that had a compass in it and was only 2 more wires to hook up, I did it. I've done it always. So there's the developer saying that it's not recommended to disable the compass. And you would think they would change this note. They do a pretty good job about their documentation. They talk about you don't really have to set the orientation anymore in certain firmware versions, etc., etc., etc. But they never get into here precisely what the compass will do for you. I think in the auto takeoff and auto landing area, it may talk about how a compass helps in both or at least one of them. Got landscapers outside doing yard work, extra little noise. Sorry about that, people. So that kind of gives you the preponderance, in my opinion, of what the developers say about this. But over the last 2 years, I've been hearing with learning iNav last year and stuff like that, and building up the platforms on iNav last year, that compasses are a problem and crash things. Then in the past month, I've heard 2 respectable people talk about compasses enabled on their airplanes. One saying that it works in Ardu plane but nothing else. The other one seeming to be about like myself and at least curious about it, if nothing else. Will it work? Won't it work? Should I use it? Should I not use it? So I put out a call to try to get information, and one user did send me information. I did see a video that shows a crash caused by a compass. It's my first and only. That user's pretty smart. They suggested that, you got it wired up. It's working. All you have to do is disable it in the software, and we know you won't be hurt by it. If later there's a change in that, then you can just re-enable it. You don't even have to solder anything. You're cool. Well, he's right. That is pretty simple, isn't it? So I went in and disabled all my compasses, but I don't like that. What's sitting in front of you right now, and the developers seem to say to me that I shouldn't have to do that. That's the only source of information that I got. All of this other is hearsay from people. It's not something I go with unless I have technical proof. It's my problem. Just verbal doesn't work for me. I'll sit here and make videos and talk to you about all the rumors and stuff. It's just discussing the rumors. So right now, Anybody else out there got any videos, telemetry files, proof that a compass crashes an airplane, proof that a compass doesn't crash an airplane? I'm still currently of the no compass persuasion right now. I wasn't 24, 48 hours ago, perhaps, and I might not be tomorrow. But right now, it's still kind of an open issue for me that I'm wanting to research and pin down. Right now, to tell you the truth, just like I didn't want to fly helicopters and RC airplanes 20 years ago because of the cost of crashing them, I don't want to crash these new models right now. So I'm going to fly them without the compasses. And then later, I'll come back to this compass question when I've had some fun with them and I've got enough of them, and I could afford to break a couple of them right now. I don't feel like I can afford to break anything but the Nano Talon, and sometimes with it, it's not even flying it. It's just jumping up and down on it, which I may do with it someday. Landscapers keep coming back blowing leaves. So I'm going to try to wrap this up. I see Ardu Pilot developers not warning us about compass problems. I don't understand why they wouldn't. But they're also not proving to us that their compass firmware is not a problem. I don't see them doing that either. I hear a lot of people out there saying compasses are a problem. I hear very few people saying they aren't a problem. I see very few people experimenting with them. And the ones that are just like me. They're not quite sure. Okay, the landscapers are bothering the daylights out of me right now, so see what you can send me, see what you think. Comments open. That's where I stand. That's why I stand. A little extra information in here about Ardu Pilot so I could express how much, 10, 15 years of developing this software for hobbyists. I don't think they would just keep their mouth quiet. I don't understand why they're keeping their mouth quiet, not contradicting that a compass is a problem. So that's what tips me over the line to fully listen to all the others. And then the gentleman that sent me the video and stuff, his logic is sound. And being a computer person, that's what I go with more. Proof. Okay, guys, it's getting warm today and tomorrow. I hope to fly. We'll see. Not like it was last week. So I'll just leave you again with this nice little rime: ice on our mountains. Yeah, that's not snow. Might be a little bit on the ground. We did get a little bit of a flurry in the higher elevations around here, not where I live. Up higher, a couple thousand feet higher. But that's mostly rime ice on the trees. It's just ice that from like fog and stuff, trees being really, really cold, and as the moisture moves past them, it sticks to them and freezes and completely encapsulates the trees and limbs in ice. It's pretty wild stuff. It can be quite beautiful, but it can also be quite dangerous. All right, guys, have a good one. I'll catch you later. Thank you.